All right, so this is just going to be a quick video announcing the challenge kickoff that I talked about in my last video, which was the out of sample for 2026. So I am starting a small account challenge and a prop firm challenge this year, which I'll be documenting. It's primarily going to be using those same strategies that I shared in my beginner guide to algo trading with PineScript series, but it will be using the Quantower Futures variant that I talk about in that video of the 2026, or rather 2025, I should say, analysis of the out of sample. And so this video is just kicking it off, where I've moved $5,000 into AMP futures. I've also moved a little bit extra into data fees, or rather to cover data fees, and that is the standard because if you move exactly 5,000 in, the moment you pay for data, you've now dropped below 5,000. And since you can't trade without data, then it's generally assumed that if you're going to start a $5,000 challenge, you move in enough to cover at least the first month of data fees. So that way the account has enough to trade and technically is starting with 5,000 of trading slash margin capacity rather than like 4,970 or essentially whatever you paid for data. So the idea is not to move money in every month to cover data fees. It's just we moved in a little bit more than 5,000 to cover that first month of data fees because again, you can't trade without data. So the account will have to sustain its own data fees moving forward. And so for those of you who have only been trading sim accounts and have experience with platforms already, this may be something new to you that the account has to not only make money and cover short-term taxes, but also needs to cover the data fees. So that's just another reason why live trading can be challenging and difficult. Now over to the prop firm challenge. I picked up 5 of these 50K evals, and I picked Lucid just because it was recommended by some people who trade in the prop firm community. And I looked at the rules and they make a lot of sense to me. It's a one-time payment for the eval. There's no activation fee for funded, and there's no daily loss limit. The drawdown is end of day. Trading during news is allowed and algos are allowed. So things that just make sense and are honestly pretty close to actual trading. Whereas most prop firms out there will make you pay monthly, will also pay you for an activation fee, even though it kind of doesn't make sense to me why there would be an activation fee. They will sometimes give you a daily loss limit, which also doesn't make sense to me because in real life, you only have a daily loss limit if you actually put one on yourself. Like the platform telling you like what your daily loss limit is arbitrarily just does not reflect what actual trading is. And then the drawdown type being end of day also makes sense because that's usually what you live with, unless you happen to be staring at the chart every second. So even like intraday trailing drawdown doesn't make sense most of the time in the way that's implemented in prop firms. News being allowed also makes sense because a lot of us who algo trade, we have back tested through news, and so if the prop firm tells me that I can't trade through news because of arbitrary reasons they've come up with, again, that doesn't make sense. And then the worst is saying that algorithms are not allowed, just as a blanket rule, even though algorithms is probably the most consistent and safe way to trade in general. So all in all, you basically get a prop firm that surprisingly is pretty close to what actual trading might be, versus the other prop firms, which are uh, just closer to scams or trying to basically give you arbitrary reasons as to why you fail so that they can keep your money. So the risk of using any prop firm is getting denied payouts for dumb reasons. I'm not going to name any specific prop firms, but those who have gotten payouts and also been denied payouts for arbitrary reasons, you probably know what firms I'm talking about. And so, again, I've never tried Lucid, but I did talk to some people in the prop firm communities that I happen to lurk in sometimes. And I did see a data point that someone has, in fact, been paid by Lucid. And so I'm going to, take it on a leap of faith that they probably do pay out, or at least I hope so. And if not, it's probably not the big of a deal because I picked the cheapest plan that makes sense to me. So, us algo traders, we aren't staring at charts every day trying to find ways to make money every single day. We just trade edges that we've developed. And so it comes down to what is the least amount of money that I have to pay, because I don't necessarily control when the market's going to give me my setups. And so, we don't get to think too much about the time it's going to take to get a payout, but rather, what is the cheapest that I can get this extra leverage from these prop firms while executing these algorithmic strategies. So the other thing is that Lucid does have an inactivity rule, but this is not something new to prop firms. And I do understand where if someone has a prop firm account that has not taken trades in a long time, why the prop firm might try to close that account. Lucid's was 20 days, I believe, whereas most prop firms I've seen, if you don't trade for 5 days, they will actually email you and say, like, hey, this is a warning that we're going to close your account if you don't trade. And to be honest, I've had phases where I have turned off all of my algos and then reshuffle things around the portfolio and forgotten to turn algos back on. And so I will say that I am someone who has actually lost thousands of dollars from Top Step because of the inactivity rule. Like I don't know. I just had a period in my life where I was working on some of the other income streams that are taught in the community, taught in the Patreon. I was ramping those up, earning more than the amount I lost from the Top Step accounts that got closed. But it is kind of silly whenever I later went back and finally finished my portfolio analysis and then looked at the prop firm accounts I had. And then it was like, oh, I had some funded Top Step accounts that I technically could have requested a payout from. But I've already been paid over 5 figures from Top Step. I'm at the 90-10 split. And so while it does bum me out that I lost XFAs that I could have just gotten the money from, it is what it is. It's just you care less when you have multiple streams of income about just losing that kind of stuff. You kind of take it as an operating risk, so to speak. But because of the inactivity rule of these various prop firms, I do have a bot that does nothing but just flip a micro, a MNQ micro. You can technically set it to any instrument. So I just have set that up on the 5 LucidFlex prop firm accounts, just so that they're flipping technically every single day in case the strategies that I'm actually trading don't happen to find a trade in 20 days. So the math comes out to be like this. The first 2 accounts, I noticed that I got an additional 10% off. So those only cost $71.50, but then every account after that, I had to pay the advertised $84.54. So it's around $400 total in sign-up expenses. I do like that these are one-time fees. So that will be the starting expense. Is we're going to be down $400 just from the sign-up expenses. And then the plan is every single month. I'm just going to go ahead and show this. So the accounts are pending. I think they'll be activated probably tomorrow night. And then that's when I will officially have a dashboard, be able to connect my Quantower to the Rithmic accounts. But my point is that I'm going to give periodic updates on this, probably at the end of every month or probably just once a month. And I'll show the dashboard here as well as the client report from AMP Futures on the small account challenge. And I think the best timing actually is when the AMP Futures gives me a client report, which they only send you a client report if trades have been taken that day. And since I'm not having to flip a micro due to an inactivity rule in my own personal 5K small account, then I'm only going to get that report on days where my algo took trades for real. And so that's probably how I'll do it, is after a trade has been concluded and the AMP client report comes in, then I'll say, okay, it's time to make a quick update video. Here is where all of the accounts are, and they're all trading the same strategies, so they should be pretty close. There'll be some minor differences with slippage and fills and commissions, but Otherwise, they should be pretty close. It's also very possible that these 50K evals don't get passed. I can't ever predict the future. And even though there's been extensive back testing, forward testing, and these strategies have held up for decades, you can always have a year of heightened volatility or a massive regime change that causes you to be shaken out. So we'll see what happens. But fingers crossed. I think the probabilities are on my side to get these turned into fundeds and then eventually get paid out. Not sure if those will happen this year, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, this is just a video formally announcing the start of the challenge. Thank you for watching.